Hello and welcome to Leadapreneur Online. This is the first module, purpose of the overall learning journey, how to lead, and we're looking at step 3, the power of purpose. What is purpose and why does it matter? Okay, because this is something that comes up so often in leadership. You want to have an authentic sense of purpose. You want us to have something powerful, inspiring. But what is this mysterious purpose, okay, and how do we create it? So purpose matters because it's the force, the energy that mobilizes people to action. Before we've talked about responsibility and we've talked about vision, but all of those are just good ideas. That's not actually getting anything done. It's purpose that mobilizes people to go out there and act. When you lead your life, it's not your sense of responsibility that's making things change. It's not your vision that's making things change. It's your actions that are making things change. And you act because you have that strong sense of purpose. And in the same way, when you're leading your team or your organization, it's not the responsibility or the vision that gets things done. It's that sense of purpose that mobilizes people to act. And so if we think about a football team, what is it that really motivates that team to turn up every day for the training, that goes through the long bus journeys to get to the football pitch that's in the faraway country or county? What is it that drives them? It's having a strong sense of purpose, a focused sense of purpose to get up every day and pursue the vision. And that purpose mobilizes the team to act. And it's the same for all teams and all organizations. So let's look at some quotes around purpose. And the first we have one here is from Niccolo Machiavelli. And what he's really saying in this quote is be bold. Boldness should be the thing that you strive for, not something that you should suffer from. So in other words, don't be too unambitious. Be bold, think big with your ambition, and use your energy and sense of purpose to give yourself the courage to go and do that. Dream big, and your strength for making those bold actions comes from your sense of purpose. It's that electric energy that makes you believe this is what we need to do, this is the right thing, and makes you go out there and act on it. And that takes us to the second quote, because what he's saying here, the task of a leader is to unleash the energies that are inside of people. Now, if you imagine that the team of people or the organization that you're leading, all of those have a creative capacity. They all have their certain energy. Now, what you're really doing as a leader is you're combining them into something much greater than the sum of its parts and unleashing that in one focused direction. So in other words, as a leader, your team or your organization is really this incredible powerhouse. And your task is to activate and maximize that energy and channel it through a strong sense of purpose into transforming the vision from a dream into a reality. And then the third quote is actually a little personal story of mine. So I was living in Cambodia for 2 years, building leadership organizations there. And I went with my friends to go visit the incredible temples of Angkor Wat. And in the morning, it's a little bit chilly. So as you're waiting for the sun to rise, you can go out and you can buy pancakes and cups of coffee from the local food sellers. And, sometimes their kids will come by and ask you to take your order. And so this little boy came by to my group and asked us if we wanted anything. And there was such a long list, I couldn't decide what I wanted. And so we were chatting and I was umming and erring. And, I was basically messing him around a little bit. And he just got so fed up with it in the end. After calmly waiting, he simply grabbed the menu out of my hand, threw it on the ground and glared at me and demanded to know, do I want a pancake or not? And there was a sort of stunned silence. It's worth pointing out that the kid was about the height of my knees, maybe a little bit taller. And again, he looked at me and fiercely said, do you want a pancake or not? At which point, I was almost terrified. So I immediately said, yes, of course I'd like one. Very English about it. I'm very sorry about that. And then he calmly picked up the menu and walked off. So what does this have to say about leadership and purpose? That little boy taught me something very important about life, and it's the essential question of all leadership. In the end, it's not about the talk, it's a very simple question. Do you want to do it or not? If you don't, then don't bother and don't waste people's time. If you do want to do it, then be serious and go out there and make it happen. Make the decisions and act. And that's really what purpose is about. Make the decision and go out there and act. And just like I had to learn to make a decision on my pancake menu and act on it, so in the same way, a leader needs to make sure that they're not just drowning themselves in clever ideas and talk and vision and responsibility. Make a decision and go out there and do it. And that's where we really understand where this ability to make decisions comes from. Because purpose is a mindset, it's a way of being. And it's a particular way of being. It's that of being very focused and very determined. Purposeful people, purposeful teams, purposeful organizations have a very clear idea of where they're going. They're focused, they're calm, but energized, and they're incredibly determined to pursue their goal and build their vision. And this is where that clear mindset, that determined mindset, generates the energy to go out there and transform the good idea into a reality. But the final point is to understand where does this purpose actually come from? The purpose doesn't exist. You're not going to walk around finding it lying around. Oh, now I have purpose. It's not just going to magically happen like that. Purpose must be continuously generated. It's a force, and the forces must be generated in order for them to keep existing. So one of the key tasks of a leader is to continuously re-energize, refresh, refocus the team and organization's sense of purpose in order to make sure it's at its maximum. And if you have a great sense of purpose, then you can do great things. Here we have two incredible Olympic athletes. On the left is Mo Farah, British 10,000 meter gold medalist at the London Olympics in 2012. And on the right we have Usain Bolt, the fastest man to have ever lived. And both of these people got to the peak of their field, the very highest of highs of human excellence, through an incredible sense of purpose. You can only imagine how determined and how focused, how full of energy and yet calm and relaxed these people are to be able to achieve the great things that they did. And exactly the same way, the leader tries to create that for their team or for their organization. And by focusing in and being determined, you will be able to lead your team to achieve great things. So, as usual, let's check into why purpose matters for the team. Well, we've talked about how purpose is important for mobilizing action. But it's not just for mobilizing a few people. It's important to understand that the leader's task is to create a common action. It's the passion that powers the performance, but the whole organization or the whole team must feel that passion, not just one or two. If you're leading a 10-person team and only 2 or 3 people get that sense of purpose, then you're wasting over 70% of the capacity of the team. So it's crucial to build that common sense of purpose to enable that common action. And a great leader focuses on building a great sense of purpose. It's one of their key priorities to continuously mobilize people. So I just want to make a quick point here that this is not about being sort of an endless entertainer. You're not always looking for the next gimmick to inspire people. Purpose is much deeper than that. And now at the next slide, we're going to look at how you create that strong sense of purpose. So where does purpose come from? Purpose, like we said earlier, is a force, and forces must be generated. And the way that purpose is generated is that it exists in the creative tension between responsibility and vision. And now we can see why we covered those 2 modules earlier. Because the first step of creating a great sense of purpose is to have a great sense of responsibility. The second step is to have a great vision. And what we can see here is that responsibility is grounded in the present, in the here and now moment, whereas the vision is describing the future, how the world should be. And what we have is by saying, I'm responsible for now, and where we want to go with the vision, we automatically feel an energy, a motivation, a purpose to go out and achieve that. And the crucial thing is the clarity of that purpose. It's focused. You're not just energized and excited and buzzed. Instead, you're focused on taking the current situation and what you're responsible for and moving it through time to achieve the vision. So, for example, if you're looking at building a hospital and leading a great hospital, you need to have a great sense of responsibility for building that hospital. You need to have a great vision for the hospital. And by articulating that responsibility and describing that vision passionately to your people, that generates a strong sense of purpose. What's important to recognize is that you're working with everything that you already have. To create a powerful sense of purpose, you don't have to do anything extra than what you already should have. As a leader, you need to have that responsibility and you need to have that vision. So all you're doing is simply connecting them together and continuously making them manifest for the team and organization. Now, what that means is you're always describing this is the current situation, this is where we are, and then you're clearly describing this is where we should be. And it's your task as a leader to build that feedback dynamic between the two to generate that sense of purpose between people. And you can see here that over time, if you don't keep refreshing it, then this can get tired and old and boring. It's important for the leader to keep refreshing the sense of responsibility. Refresh the vision, talk about it, reconnect to it. And by doing that, you can make sure you have a fresh sense of purpose. So what I want to show with this slide is that it's key to make sure that the responsibility matches the vision. On the left, we can see that there's a leader or a team, an organization whose sense of responsibility is too small in relation to the vision that they want to create. They're unlikely to succeed because they simply aren't committed enough to achieving the overall vision. On the other hand, we can have too great a sense of responsibility. We have too much energy and we're too ambitious and we're constrained by the narrowness and lack of imagination in our vision. So it's important for a leader to make sure that these are in balance. You don't have to go out there and change the entire world. And nor do you have to be a successful leader by going out there and building a whole platform for better humanity. You can focus simply on the local reality. It's not about being a hero. It's simply about making things better in the context that's right for you. But in order to do that, you have to make sure that the responsibility and the vision are aligned and continuously generate that strong sense of purpose. So, what's a practical device for doing that? So we have the ABC method, in which A stands for what we need to do, B stands for how we're going to do it, and C stands for why are we doing this in the first place. And how we put it together is into one simple sentence. We are here to do A by performing B to achieve C. So for example, we want to build a better hospital by developing better operating procedures so that we can improve the health of our patients and community. This is a simple statement of purpose, of intent, and a leader of a hospital can use that to focus the people in their teams and the whole hospital towards achieving that. You can see that part A describes what we're doing. We're here to build a better hospital. How we're going to do it is by developing better operating procedures. Now, we could use, for example, new research or better technology or a whole host of other things, but that's for the leader to decide. And then part C, why are we doing this? We connect to the greater sense of value, and that's where we're improving the health of our patients and our community. Now, what's important to recognize about this is the clarity of it. And that's one of the things that often prevents a strong sense of purpose. Because if you don't really know what you're doing, you don't really understand why you're here, and you have no idea how you're going to do it, you're definitely not going to feel a strong sense of purpose. So it's crucial for the leader to generate the simplest and clearest statement of purpose. And using the ABC model is a very, very effective way of doing this. And that's important because one of the main challenges that you're going to face is that people just are not going to be bothered by what you want to say. After your arousing, inspiring speech and you've talked about the responsibility and the vision and everyone's clapped and cheered you on, what's really going to happen is they're going to go back to their everyday lives and quickly forget about the things that you talked about. You need to really connect to that sense of purpose. You need to be insistent and consistent with your message. And the only way you can do that is by having a very simple and clear message for people to understand. So let's look at some practical tips for purpose. The first thing, and I re-emphasize this, create a clear sense of purpose using the ABC model. The simplicity is the key. It should be one sentence long. If it's not one sentence using the ABC structure, then you need to go back to the drawing board and make it simpler so that people can understand it. Secondly, purpose is not a rational tool. You're not meant to inspire people by how clever you are. You're going to inspire them and motivate them to action and get over their feelings of laziness and focusing on other matters by making them feel excited about this. Get them to be really passionate about what you're doing. Connect to the emotions. Be authentic, be meaningful, and focus on why we're doing this. And that's why we can see in the second step, it was so important to talk about values, because that's what really gets people excited. Let's talk about the bigger things. We're not just building a better hospital, we're improving the health of our patients and our whole community. And that's something much more important, much more exciting for people. And then finally, clarity and consistency are the key. You're going to have to repeat that message over and over and over again. And the reason for that is very simple. Imagine how much change your team and your organization go through. Especially in the modern day world, there's so much change and so much happening that it's very easy to forget that one message. Even if someone really agrees with you, they're liable to forget about it, or it's going to turn to the back of their mind because they're so focused on coping with the here and now. So consistently message the same sense of purpose. It's your job as a leader to repeat that message over and over and over again in order to make sure that people are aligned with it and then that they get it. So in summary, purpose must be continuously created. It's created through the articulation of responsibility and vision. It's your job as a leader to generate that clarity within the people. Make sure that the vision matches the level of responsibility. It's up to you to decide how big you want to go, but make sure that they're aligned. And finally, clarity is the key. If anything happens in terms of uncertainty, people are going to be less focused and less excited. So keep it as clear and simple as possible, and you'll be able to generate an amazing sense of purpose.